Street was first dominated by the chettiar community of India. The chettiar community is a caste in India, the Hindu caste originating from the south of India, from the state of Tamil Nadu. They were very big businessmen, they were very smart businessmen going around all over the world. And once they came to Sri Lanka, they dominated C Street, mainly in their business of money lending, finance, money lending. And C Street also is very prominent on those days because the harbour is very nearby. It's walking distance to the harbour. And when the ships move into Colombo, as you know from generations, like it's been a very important harbour in this region. So when ships come into this harbour, the first thing they step into is C Street because that's the proximity up to the harbour. Till today, the harbour gate is near C Street. And the chettiar community, they dominated the street with their money lending business. When people wanted money for their businesses or for their personal finance, anything, they came and they mortgaged either property or jewelry or any of their assets, and they got money. So they got the finance for that amount. And that's how the chettiar community came to be very famous. And they were actually bankers in a way. More than businessmen, they were more in the banking side. Till today, the chettiar community exists in Burma, in Myanmar, in Malaysia, Singapore, South Africa, and all those regions where the Indian population is. And over the years, as they evolved and the C Street became into a textile hub, where there were a lot of textiles moving out in and out of C Street. And then gradually from pawning, it moved on to, for some odd reason, it moved on to jewelry, to retail jewelry. And after 1948, 1950s, as my father says, this place was very important for its, you had a lot of retail outlets. Then for next 30 to 40, like let's say 30 years, it was very strong retail and wholesale base and manufacturing base also. The C Street was a very strong manufacturing, wholesale and retail for jewelry. And C Street over the years, it just evolved into a main retail hub, retail, wholesale and manufacturing hub in Sri Lanka. And at one point in time, it was like if you wanted jewelry anywhere in the country, suppose you resided in Gaul, in Kandy, Nurelia, Jaffna, anywhere. Jaffna had its own hub, but you resided anywhere. You always prefer to come to C Street to buy your jewelry and then go back. Even till today, we have customers coming all the way from Kandy. Kandy is about 100 kilometers, it's about 3 hours. It takes 3 hours from Colombo to Kandy. But till today, we have customers coming all the way from, there are shops, a lot of shops in Kandy right now. But they come, they have trust. They come to C Street, they buy the jewelry, and then they go back. That's how C Street has been. But as it went on the whole, it's a very good thing that Sri Lanka is developing at a very rapid rate now, and all the suburbs, small towns, villages, everywhere it's like a boom. There's a growth, both in living standards and the main infrastructure development. So, of course, shops are coming up, retail outlets are opening up all over the place, all over, all the small towns and villages and cities, it's opening up. And so people do their shopping now. They don't come to C Street as much as they used to. And but the shop, there should be a supplier for the shops. If a shop opens up, let's say in a village somewhere or in a small town across the island, they have to buy stocks. To buy the stock, the shopkeeper comes to C Street now. It's not the retail customer, the shopkeeper comes over to C Street. So you get a lot of wholesale taking place here. Even if any manufacturer, you get manufacturers now all over the island. And so C Street has become a hub, a base for the manufacturer. You get manufacturer in the sense there are very few, let's say, the manufacturing, industrialized manufacturing in the sense like, you get a company where you employ your staff and then you have 100 staff and doing manufacturing. It's mostly a cottage industry as such, where you get like, let's say the head of the family and they get the sons and the family, they work together in a small workshop. It's like a craft. They do like a craft. And sometimes they need an outlet to sell their goods. So let's say the person makes in bulk and he needs an outlet. So he comes to C Street and gives to one of the shops to sell it for him. If he doesn't have a means, this is a source of marketing actually, the C Street. In the middle, C Street lost a little of its reputation because they were people were they lost their ethics and started supplying undercarried goods. When a customer says he wants 22, he expects 22. But if you say I'm selling you 22 and if you sell 18, then it's like cheating the customer. In the middle, let's say in the 80s and early 90s, a lot of it took place like that. There were some shops which to boost their bottom line, they of course they got into these methods, and so C Street lost a little of its reputation during that time. But now, thankfully and happily, people are moving towards 22 carat and they're moving towards quality. So in order to, like, they had no choice actually. People in C Street, the shops in C Street had no choice. They had to go back to 22 because everywhere else in small towns and suburbs, everyone is providing quality. So the main hub, if they don't provide quality, of course customers are not going to come back over here. So they're moving back to 22 right now. So it's a very good, healthy sign of it to the industry to go. And apart from it, if you see C Street, if you walk down the road from C Street, you see, let's say, rough estimate like about 500 shops. But then you look into each shop, like, you see a small passage. It's like a complex. The outside is a main shop. Inside you see a complex as such. Inside the complex you get something around, let's say in each complex about 50 to 100 shops. It's small, like maybe 10 by 10, 8 by 8, small areas where a craftsman occupies that space and he keeps making, in the traditional method, he keeps making the jewelry. And there are a lot of services provided in C Street. Like, let's say if a person is manufacturing a jewelry elsewhere and he wants some service, like he wants plating done, a laser engraving, he wants to test the quality of the gold, and he wants to stud, he wants to set some stones. If it's a small workshop, that person can afford only to make the jewelry. He would not have the right equipments to do the plating, to do the laser engraving and all that. So he comes to C Street to get those services done from one of the many shops over here. So that is the prominence of C Street, and even till today, if you walk down C Street, you get this chettiar coil, that is a chettiar temple till today, which is, there are about 2 or 3 temples right down C Street, which is, that was like wherever chettiars went, not only they did the banking, they also made sure that they built temples around to mark their spot. Like, they say, okay, we are here for good. That's the reason why they built the temples. This happened even in Thailand. When we went to Thailand recently, I think, I'm not sure of the place, I'm not sure, Ceylon, somewhere in Ceylon, they have a temple. So I was told that also is built by the chettiars. In Sri Lanka, like one of the, most of the major like big temples down in Colombo, down the western coast, are built by the chettiar community in those days. So they made their mark. But unfortunately, these days you don't get a lot of chettiars living here due to the ethnic conflict. There's a substantial population living here, the chettiar community, but most of them have moved back to India because of the ethnic conflict.